information, you're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Another sunny evening here at the KTPF Community Talk Show in sunny Manchester. It's not been too bad.
You hear us, we hear you.
Hopefully that we're going to have a few people in the chat room tonight. We'll see. We've got a few viewers on at the moment. And just to let you know, my name's Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And we're here to try and bring you as much as possible that is paranormal, that is happening in and around the world, and some topics that you may not think about, but might give you food for thought. Like tonight, for instance, we are talking later on about 8:30 to a guy from America called Jeff Mudgett. I think that's right how you pronounce his name. And he's going to be talking to us about his relative of a long, long time ago, obviously. I can't remember. Let me just check. I think he's the great-great-grandson or something. He's going to tell us more about this. But it's about, oh yes, that's right. It's his great-great-grandfather that was noted as the first serial killer in America. And he's going to be telling us more about this and how he found out about this, and also about his book that he's written about his journey to finding out all this information. Now, you're probably wondering why we're thinking about murderers and why we're talking about murderers on a paranormal show. Well, the paranormal does cover quite a lot of things: cryptozoology, UFOs, all sorts of stuff. And the thing is, with one of the genres, there is a very big following for things regarding Jack the Ripper. And later on, we'll be discussing with Jeff, because he has a feeling, and from some of the information he's got, that his great-great-grandfather was possibly the man himself, and we're going to be finding out more about that later.
Well, apparently he did come over to England and
yes,
body parts.
Yeah, we did watch a bit of a documentary that you can find on YouTube, and he was a very naughty person. He was very, very mean, wasn't he?
That's putting it polite.
Yeah, some of the stuff he did, God, it was just so horrific. And when you think about the serial killers these days, this guy.
Well, if you think about the Waverley House, the house that was, I think it's Waverley, the one that was never finished.
Mhm.
He built a house very similar to that. He had doors going that didn't go anywhere. He had things that could only be unlocked from the outside. He had secret passages where he could move bodies around and drop them down chutes. And,
well, this is it.
And gas chambers and dissection rooms and all sorts of things like that. And he had businesses downstairs and people living in the rooms upstairs.
Yeah, and all for money at the end of the day.
And,
they do say money is the root of all evil, and this man definitely took it to the extreme. From what we saw on this documentary, that, as I say, that we found on YouTube, and he didn't just stay at businessmen either. So
no, he women, children, just about everybody. I mean, if you think about it, it was the all-rounder. I mean, he murdered people for insurance.
Yeah.
He dissected their bodies and stuff, and sold them to doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
And he bleached the bones and then had them made into skeletons for doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
So no waste.
And from what I saw of the documentary, after he was tried and convicted, they didn't allow his bones to be dissected, his body to be dissected.
No, and that was his request, that he was buried under concrete, so nobody could get to him.
Yes. So we're going to find out more about this from Jeff in a short while. So it sounds very interesting. So please bring your questions and your hypothesis and see what you think. Oh, that was a big word, wasn't it?
Where did you get that diary from?
I don't
Dictionary,
know.
rather.
Must have come with that ice lolly I just ate.
Well, we got 8 viewers in, but only one showing in the chat room, and that's B19, which is Marie, who sadly has not been very well.
No, so we
for
hope
the
she
last
gets
2
well.
weeks. She says she's fed up now.
Yeah, well, this is it. So, let's hope she gets better soon. So, okie dokie. So, as I say, we've just want to let you know before we go into the show that next week there will be no show. I'm afraid we are taking the week off. Don't moan at me.
Family commitments, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So we will be back on the 19th. So as I say, you can moan at us then, can't they? But just to let you know, let me just if you haven't been on the Facebook page, we have got a list there of what's coming up in June. Just to give you oh hello, what's that? Just to give you
Are we lost?
yeah, it's all right. Just give you an idea of what's actually coming up in June itself. As I said, we've got Jeff Mudgett tonight, who's going to be talking about his great-great-grandfather. On the 19th, we have, and excuse me if I pronounce this wrong, we have a young lady by the name of Chase Kloetsk, or something like that. She's from America as well. She's known for her drive and involvement in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal fields of study and investigation. One of her main cases include close encounters of the third kind. So she's going to be talking to us. She's actually joined Mutual UFO Network in 1996 and was fast-tracked to Deputy Director of Investigations and Star Team Manager through 2011. So she's coming on the first half of the show on the 19th. And then we've got Nicole Strickland, who's from a paranormal team in San Diego, and she's which is the San Diego Paranormal Research Society. And she's also the Southern California Area Research Director for another name I might have problems with, for Dal Kaczmaryk's Ghost Research Society. So yeah, she's going to be coming along, and she's going to be telling us about about the fact that she's a published author on the paranormal with 2 published books, one entitled Field Guide to Southern California Hauntings and the other one The Haunted Queen of the Seas. She's going to be talking to us about the Queen Mary and what she's found there, which everyone likes to know what's going on with the Queen Mary, don't they?
Yeah, she's a floating hotel now, isn't she?
Is she?
I think so.
Oh,
or
right.
was that the QE2, this floating hotel?
I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you.
One of them is.
I don't know. And then on the 26th of at the end of the month, we've got a lovely young lady coming on called Rosemary Ellen Gwilly. Now, we often try and include multicultural beliefs, when it comes to the paranormal, because not everyone believes that ghosts are exactly what we're seeing. Isn't that right, Steve?
It is indeed. Many believe in demons or just nasty things along the way, and she believes one of these, being the jinn, actually has an effect on what's going on around us. Yeah, she's written a book recently called The Jinn Connection, which presents feasible arguments that the jinn may have a significant association with other supernatural and paranormal beings. She's also conducts her own original field investigations of haunted and mysterious sites, and she's also the author of more than 45 books, including 9 encyclopedias and hundreds of articles in print
on a wide range of paranormal, spiritual, and mystical topics. So we've got plenty to talk about over the next few months, or rather over the next month.
Yeah,
So we hope you'll tune in.
We'll have to see if we can get Osman to come in on that one.
Yeah, that'd be an
Because,
idea, because being a Muslim and that.
Those of you that must have been part of the documentary team that was actually filming us, and when he came in, we were talking about the jinn.
Yeah,
So,
because that was his, you know, that's from his belief.
And his mum was doing some good research for him.
Yeah, so we're seeing Osman hopefully this weekend, so we might earmark him to pop in and give his opinion. So you know, we'll see what's happening there. So hopefully, as I say, you'll join us. And don't forget, if there's anything you want to listen to or hear us talk about, please give us your ideas, because what we can do then is we can try and get the person involved in that particular topic and see whether we can maybe get them on the show to talk about that particular genre for you. So please give us your input so that we can give you a bit of a variety. So who's actually in the chat room tonight?
At the moment, the only person that they're showing is Marie.
Marie and obviously JW.
John, John's just popped in there, just seeing there. But we have eight viewers at present.
Yes.
And obviously we'll have some more later coming in.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully. Shall I continue with what?
What have you found at the moment?
Up over the week.
Yeah,
over this week.
What's been happening?
Not all of it paranormal, but very interesting all the same. An unexplained shadow, 600 feet under the Pacific, could be Amelia Earhart's missing plane. Experts believe they have solved the mystery of where the aviator's aircraft lies. A team of researchers scouring the South Pacific for the wreckage of the flown by American aviator Amelia Earhart in her ill-fated attempt to circumnavigate the globe in 1937. So they may be nearing success after seeing an unexplained shadow on sonar images which were taken off the island. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Nikum Maroro in the Republic of Kiribati last year. That was close.
It was.
That was close. Well, it's close to what it looks like on the screen anyway. Experts with the International Group for Historic Airport Recovery, TICHA, revealed that painstaking analysis of solar images captured in July 2012 revealed an anomaly on the slopes of a reef at about 600 feet. So they may be getting her plane up, if it is indeed her plane. There's a lot more there, but some people are saying that it could be the anomaly could actually just be the reef itself.
Right.
So we await more on that one.
Okay.
Hey, we're off to Siberia.
Oh yeah.
They found a mammoth.
Oh right.
A mammoth preserved in ice.
A woolly one.
Yes, a woolly one. Maybe I go tongue-tied then. Preserved ice age giant was found with flowing blood in Siberia. Russian scientists discovered a fully grown female mammoth with the blood and well-preserved muscle tissue trapped in ice in Siberia. The findings come amid debates on whether extinct species should be resurrected using DNA.
Okay.
So some people are actually thinking of getting the DNA and resurrecting a mammoth. Can you imagine a big woolly mammoth these days?
Well, didn't they cross a frog with something and an elephant, and we ended up with Jurassic Park? Can you imagine if they actually did that? Oh no, it was from a mosquito bite. Mosquito, wasn't it? That was in a fossil.
They got the DNA that was from a mosquito that was in amber.
Yeah.
And they put frog DNA to connect the helix up.
Now, what would happen if they really did do that? Now, come on.
There'd be a few elephants that have a bit of a surprise. Yeah, scientists say they have managed to find the mammoth blood during excavation of the grown female animal on the, oh god, here we go, Lyakosovsky Island,
somewhere,
the southernmost group of New Siberia Islands in the Arctic seas of northern Russia.
Right.
The dark blood was found in ice cavities below the belly of the animal. When researchers broke the cavity with a thick pole, the blood came flowing out. So the blood was actually still wasn't frozen. There we go. The fact surprised them because the temperature was 10 C, below zero.
10 Celsius.
That should have frozen, I would have thought. It can be assumed that the blood of the mammoth had been cryoprotective properties, said, here we go again, Semyon Grigoriev,
Now, come on, it must be just funny enough hearing us trying to pronounce these big words.
head of Museum of Mammoths of the Institute of Applied Ecology and the Northeastern Federal University. So here we go. That's what they did with that. They found this big woolly mammoth, female. Apparently, her trunk was found elsewhere.
Yeah.
And animals had got to the top half, but it did have some damage from the carcass.
Okay.
So they were going to be doing tests and everything else. The head of the museum also suggests that the mammoth lived from 10,000 to 15,000 years ago. Scientists have suggested that perhaps the animal fell through the ice, escaping from predators. However, it is thought the predators still feasted on the top part of the mammoth. Poor thing.
Okay, what else have we got?
I am still with crypto.
Oh.
We discovered hula painted frog is a living fossil.
Okay.
A species of frog that was recently discovered after being declared extinct has been reclassified as a living fossil. Israel's hula painted frog has not been seen for nearly 60 years.
Right.
But in 2011, it was found lurking in a patch of swampy undergrowth. I will say that this was only just brought up just recently.
Yeah.
Even though they found it in 2011.
Uh-huh.
Tests have revealed that the frog belongs to a group of amphibians that died out 15,000 years ago. Professor Sarig Gaffney from the Rupin Academic Center in Israel told BBC News, "We felt like we had a great finding. We first rediscovered it. This frog was like an idol in Israel, but then we found it was living fossil. This was amazing. Even before it was declared extinct in '96, the hula-painted frog was an elusive creature. Despite its distinctive black and white spotted belly, only 3 adults have ever been seen when Israel's Hula Valley was drained in 1950s. Its swampy home was destroyed. Scientists, though, thought the species had been lost forever. But 2 years ago, a frog was spotted by a park ranger, and since then another 13 have been discovered.
Yeah.
So it's making its way back.
Definitely.
And another.
Right. Anything else?
Oh yes. This is a sad tale. It is a sad tale. I mean, it strikes deep at the ways that people believe in things. A man in Virginia claimed he killed his 2-year-old daughter, Jocelyn, because she was gesturing to him like she wanted to fight.
Oh, yeah.
According to authorities, the Mexican citizen, 30-year-old Ed Guzman Rodriguez, punched and choked his daughter to death in order to exorcise a demon out of her.
Aww.
He pleaded no contest for murder. And the reason it's come up now, because this did actually happen in 2011, but the case has only just come to court.
All right.
So this is why we've been told more about it. When Floyd County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the scene, they found Ida Guzman Rodriguez and his wife Carmen Nolazco in the living room. Nolazco had visible injuries all over her body and was crying. Jocelyn's body was located in the couple's bedroom, wrapped in a blanket.
Aww.
I didn't kill the baby, Guzman Rodriguez said to authorities after the incident in 2011.
Yeah.
Guzman later told police that his daughter Jocelyn had a demon inside her, and that he had attempted to exorcise out the demon. Authorities also found Bibles, religious materials all throughout the home. I know I'm the one who hit her. I was the only one there. The demon used my body to kill her, Rodriguez said. to the arresting officers during investigation.
It's amazing, really, how sometimes it can actually get
he
you
was
through it.
sentenced on Monday to 20 years and 11 months for the murder of his daughter.
It's just some people's belief and everything, really, isn't it? And it is sad, I must admit.
It's well sad when things get that far out.
Yeah.
When people are so into their faith.
Yeah.
That they just can't pull back and.
No.
You know what I mean? It's automatically a demon, and people need to pull back and take a second look at these things.
This is it.
Okey-dokey. I have one for the conspiracy theorist now.
Okay.
Does the Pentagon have the body of a Bigfoot on ice?
Ooh.
What do Russians know about animal ESP? Can you really handle the truth? New Page Books and the author of Wild Man, Man, Monkey and Real Men in Black brings you this fantastic new title on the subject of government's involvements in the lives of Earth's most gruesome monsters. From the link between the CIA and the Abominable Snowman to a military connection with werewolves. If you like weird stuff, you'll find it all here. One particular interesting chapter deals with British big cats and relays information about parliamentary debate held in 1998 on the very subject. Apparently, a survey into sightings carried out in 1996 placed big cats in no less than 34 English counties, and various FOI requests also revealed the baffling extent of police and state involvement. All this and more will be found in a book called Monster Files by Nick Redman. Nick Redfern.
Nick Redfern.
Nick Redman. Who's Nick Redman? I know the name. It flowed off too easy to me not to know it. Nick Redfern. So he's lots of conspiracies and stuff in there. It'd be nice to see just how much fact you can actually find.
Yeah, this is it. Is that the last one?
I think, yep, that is my last.
Right, has anyone, just a quickie, has anyone actually seen this Mars rodent that they found on Mars? Apparently there was a curious snapshot of this by the rover or something on the surface of the planet Mars, and has been dubbed the Mars rodent.
I think it's a rock.
From this vantage point, the only one where offered by the rover, it does resemble a guinea pig, as you'd find in an earthly pet store. It says it is likely that this really is some form of Martian rodent. It's probably a bloody Photoshop.
Looks like a rock.
I must admit so. But I'll leave you to your discretion on that. You can have a look and see what you think. So. So see what you think to that one.
I still think it's a rock.
You never know. It does look like a possibility. It could be a guinea pig of some kind. But as I say, it's some things these days do give a false perception, don't they?
They do indeed.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
So, couple of minutes time, we will be calling on Jeff. And just to remind you of what this is all about, we're talking about his great-great-grandfather and the first serial killer of America, from what I can see. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get the book to read it, but I did have a quick look at this documentary that I found on YouTube regarding his great-great-grandfather. And it wasn't very nice, I must admit, from what I saw of it.
Do you have the link for the YouTube thing you found?
I'm just about to look for it, to be honest with you. I'm just having a quick search.
But before we get into that with Mr. Mudgett, I'm going to quickly shoot down and get a drink. Would you like another one yourself?
Yes, please. So, I'm just trying to find this for you, see where it is. And then you can have a look in your leisure, as they say, and see what you think, and let us know on the either the Facebook page or on the website, which is ktpf.co.uk, and you can go into the forum, register with the forum, and add your points of view to all sorts of topics that are on there. So that's what the KTPF is all about. Keeping the paranormal friendly is what KTPF stands for. And just to remind you that you're listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show here on the KTPF, which is part of Trifield Paranormal Network, our own social network, which you can also join, and you can find that at trifieldparanormal.com. And don't forget, if you are a group that have events, you can always advertise them for free on paranormaleventsforyou.com. We'll be bringing the events to you shortly. So I'm going to get hold of Jeff right now, and we'll start as soon as we can. Thank you. Let's just see whether he's available. Even though it says do not disturb, but that could be for me. 2 seconds. I'll just see if he's ready. So we're going to contact him on Skype, hopefully. 2 seconds. Yes, it's ready. Oh,
Put my ears on.
put your ears on.
So,
Let me see. Here we go. See whether it can come through on this.
Hello, Suzanne. How are you?
Hiya. This is my husband, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
yeah.
Welcome to the KTPF Community Talk Show. And I've told everyone what it's all about. And so basically, it's now over to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jeff Mudgett. Hopefully, I've pronounced that right. And you've written a book, haven't you, called Bloodstains?
Yes, I have. Bloodstains is about my learning at about the age of 40 that my great-great-grandfather was perhaps the most evil man that has ever lived, America's most prolific serial killer, with the story largely untold until recently, with a number of great books that have come out. Perhaps you know one, The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson.
Uh-huh.
A number of movies are being made about him finally, after this monster having pretty much laid a secret over the last 125 years.
Wow. Now, I did, obviously, as I've said, I haven't managed to get your book in time for tonight's show, but I have looked at a YouTube footage on H.H.Holmes to get a rough idea of what kind of man he was, and he wasn't very nice at all, I'm afraid. I know he's your relative, but he wasn't very nice at all. So how did you come about this? What made you decide to go into this journey to find out about your great-grandfather?
Well, Suzanne, I'd with some early readings after my grandfather told the family the secret that he had kept to himself for so long, I determined that most of the books were legend. Most, as you in the UK know how legends work, that soon become nonfiction and historical fact. But when you dig carefully into the stories and find out their origin and source, it's quite common to find out that they're just wrong. And I found that most of the stories about H.H. Holmes were derived from the book he wrote while he was in prison, and then the newspapers across the country put on their front pages. Those front pages were turned into non-fiction historical pieces. But when you study this man, Suzanne, that not only is he the most prolific serial killer ever, but he's the most prolific liar ever. And anything written by him had a purpose, it had a motive, it had an objective, and it was probably wrong.
I can believe it. You know, from what I saw just on that short documentary, it's you know, that he was just manipulative just to get the money, and he made money from quite a lot of things, didn't he? From everything that he turned his hand to, which revolved around his killing spree.
He was fabulously wealthy. He was an American doctor. He had gone to the University of Michigan Medical School at Ann Arbor. Had one of the highest IQs ever recorded. This is the definition of evil genius. He could have. I tell when I go give talks about him, I tell the crowds he could have been a Louis Pasteur. He could have solved illness and disease, and instead, with a clear mind and conscience, he decided on a path of evil when he could have been whatever he wanted. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to write the book. We need to use this man as maybe a basis for learning what the human species is capable of, because he's as far out there as you can get.
Yeah. Well, as I say, what I gleaned from the documentary, he started off, as you say, as a doctor. He worked on cadavers, you know, and basically he taught his students as well, from what I heard, and obviously this must have really warped his mind, the fact that you know, working on this sort of stuff for so long, and therefore he sort of just escalated and became a bit like a body snatcher, you know, and this, you know, and it just seems a way to start his journey into, as you say, the prolific serial killer. You know, it's just,
Everything seems to be money orientated.
it was all money orientated, wasn't it?
Very much so. This man never killed in rage.
No.
He never killed in temper. He never raped a woman. It was all based on his experiments, his love for torture, and then, as Steve has brought up, the money. He was here's a man in the 1890s that was probably making $300,000 or $400,000 a year. Now, what that translates to in current days, I have no idea, but it's obviously many millions of dollars.
Yeah. And obviously he managed, well, he was originally he was Herman Webster Mudgett, and then from what I heard, he forced his death and became somebody completely different.
Well, that's one of the contentions I have in my story.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to prove it yet. I intend to one day. We have remains in Pennsylvania that we are going to compare DNA with my tissue, and one day we'll be able to prove to the world that he did escape his execution and walked out in broad daylight. So we'll do that one day. Right now, we're pretty much working on having the world consider him maybe the prime suspect for the Jack the Ripper murders.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty much convinced. I don't know if we'll ever be able to prove it. I don't know if any author ever will prove who Jack the Ripper is. But I think I used to do this for a living in California as a lawyer. The evidence that we have is enough to establish probable cause that we could go to a judge if Holmes was alive today, get a warrant, and we could arrest him. We could arrest him for those murders. So I'm very confident if the world will open their mind and consider the evidence that we'll be able to maybe case closed on Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, I think the problem is like you say with H.H. Holmes. Same with the Ripper case. There's so much legend that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Steve, one of the interesting things that I had, once I wrote the book and started telling the world my story about him being Jack the Ripper, I was contacted by retired policemen from London who had worked with, he said, Scotland Yard and had enjoyed the Casebook blog about Jack the Ripper. He was a Ripperologist. He said that for decades they had believed that the first 2, maybe 3 murders were done by the Ripper. The last 2 were done by a copycat. So I'm not the first to try to tear up that old modus operandi that many people have trouble with establishing the Ripper's identity with.
Yeah. So what brings you to this conclusion? Tell us your journey where the book's concerned, and where you think about the link with Jack the Ripper. How did it all come about? How did you start with this?
Well, the book, and then I'd like to answer that, fully to your listeners. The book is not about Jack the Ripper.
No.
And let's put it in perspective. When you talk about Jack the Ripper, we're talking about 5, maybe 7 murders by a man that escaped justice, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
H.H. Holmes is a man who killed hundreds, if not 1,000, innocent young women in Chicago and the United States. There is no comparison between these two men if they are different.
Yeah.
Holmes is the story that should be told, and we shouldn't have so much fascination on the Ripper, but we do. So I intend to maybe bring a little light on H.H. Holmes using the legend of Jack the Ripper and maybe putting the attention where it should be. Now, when I wrote the book, I went about to every place I could find in the H.H. Holmes legend. I went to the place where the murder castle. I don't know if you understand that concept, Suzanne. He built a hotel during the Chicago World's Fair where many millions of people from all around the world visited. Maybe one of the greatest events in the history of man. He built a hotel at the junction of the railroad lines because he knew these innocent young women from all over, without family in Chicago, would have to spend the night before going to this thing they'd been so excited for many years. This hotel had, it was horrible. It had everything this man needed to murder, experiment, torture, and then do away with the waste of the many victims that he had. It was something right out of a Hollywood horror film. I went to visit that site. I went to visit other places where he had committed murder. I went to his home in New Hampshire. I went to where he was tried for the murders, where he was supposedly executed. Every piece of evidence that I'd heard about, I tried to go to establish that which ones were fact and which ones were legend. Well, about halfway through, we came up with some evidence about Holmes clearly enjoying his visits to the continent and London. We have telexes from him to his lawyer about what he was eating in London, about some of the newspapers there that he didn't appreciate compared to the New York papers. So there was no doubt that he had been there. He had the money to travel on the liners from New York to Southampton. And we established that. We think we can prove which one he went over that arrived in Southampton 7 days before the first murder. So that obviously, as an author and putting together this story, that part of the story fascinated me, especially when pieces started coming together. Almost every day that I researched and talked about Holmes and the Ripper on Facebook, someone would contact me from the United States or from England, almost all over the world, giving me another piece of a coincidence they considered possibly helping me in my theory. And it was amazing that the facts and the evidence that came forth built it up. Now, if your listeners want to see some, I had my computer expert modify our webpage for your show tonight. If they go to www.bloodstainsthebook.com, all one word, Bloodstains the Book, I had him put 2 pieces of the evidence that we found up on the home page, if they'd like to look. The first is a computer schematic that the BBC and Scotland Yard did in 2006. Most people don't realize this, but there were 13 eyewitnesses to what Jack the Ripper actually looked like.
Yeah.
So in 2006, Scotland Yard put this schematic together from their crime computer and came up with this, obviously a very similar drawing to what many people look like. But I had my expert lay the photo of H.H. Holmes over the top of it without any Photoshop, just a melding with 140 different images turning into one. And we put that up on our page for your listeners to check. We then had 2 detectives that had spent a career comparing computer schematic drawings with photographs. I went to their show in Virginia, and they described to me how they did that. And they said that drawing and that photograph was maybe one of the closest they'd ever seen in their entire career. Now, obviously, that schematic does not prove that H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper. It puts you in the general ballpark that, well, let's face it, you all had a book last year that came out that said Jack the Ripper may have been Jill the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that computer schematic takes that out right there. I
Yeah.
mean, it was clearly a man. That mustache tends to do that, I think. But yeah, and if you go down to the bottom of the homepage, after I'd already published my book, a man contacted me from Pennsylvania with the handwriting comparisons of the Dear Boss and From Hell letters with the letters that H.H. Holmes had written while he was in prison. He took those comparisons to the expert at the British Library, who concluded that it was a match. But I knew that, you know, the opinion of an expert isn't enough on something like this. So the Department of Justice here in the United States had created a company, not created, they had hired a company at the University of Buffalo to come up with a computer program that would consider its own comparisons of handwriting without an expert's eye. When we ran those different letters through their machine, it came back with a 97.95% similarity number.
Wow.
Which, if your listeners take a look at that, just, you know, you don't have to be an expert. Just take a look at the letters when you see there.
Yeah,
It's
I've been looking myself.
It's obviously very similar. Now, once again, proving he wrote those letters does not prove he's Jack the Ripper.
No.
It does prove he was in London at the time. He could not have mailed those letters from the United States.
No.
Now, it also proves, I had another detective from London tell me that much of the content of those two letters is beyond what you could have obtained just from reading the newspapers in 1888. So that's the type of interesting circumstantial evidence we're putting together, and we've got a lot.
Wow, it must have took some good going, I'm telling you now. How long's it took you to get this book and everything together?
I've been working on it for 10 years.
10 years. Wow. What do you think, Steve?
1 second.
Go on.
From the YouTube video we were watching earlier, the Murder Castle, as they deemed it at the time, reminds me very much of 13 Ghosts, the house there, all the different compartments and trapdoors and sneaky little corridors to get the body out and everything else. It makes you wonder what kind of mind could think of that on that scale.
Yeah, the intricate detail.
The intricate detail of it all.
You know.
Is
any of the that building still standing?
No, it was bought by, and this is very interesting, Steve, your question's great. It was bought by the United States federal government in 1937. We can prove that because we have a photograph of it with a Ford pickup truck next to it, which we know the year of the truck. The post office, the building was raised. The post office was built over the top of it, not exactly over the top of it, a little offset. So that there are portions of the original basement still in existence, the brick. And I went down with the History Channel here in the United States with 3 film crews behind me, and for an hour we traveled through the basement into those original compartments. And I tried to explain to the audience how fascinating a place, how horrible a place, explaining my knowledge of what went on down below. Mm-hmm. Now, just to let your listeners know the fact, and I always try to do this, he was never tried for any crimes that he committed at the murder castle. He was never caught until much later. He was arrested for the murder of 3 children. He was tried for the murder of 3 children. Now, when the police force went down into the murder castle basement, it had burned, but it was still standing. They tried to put together what they thought it looked like originally, and they came up with acid baths, with furnaces to remove the waste of the young women that he killed. They had racks and gurneys for his surgeries. He was fascinated with hormonal science. As a matter of fact, when he visited England, he talked to 2 scientists in England that were into hormonal science. He wanted to learn the secrets of living forever. This was, when you talk about who he was, this was the original Dr. Frankenstein, but in real life.
Yeah.
And those are the things he did. And then he would go out and sell organs and skeletons to universities across the United States. About 6 months after I published the book, one medical school from the Midwest contacted me just to let me know that they had removed one of the skeletons from their school because they were afraid that it had come from H.H.Holmes in the 1890s. So he did that for a living. He also, we think, approached 2 universities in London, medical schools, about selling them skeletons at the time of the Ripper. So we're going to run that down and see if we can establish an identity of the American doctor who approached these universities.
Mm-hmm. That would be good if we can get it connected.
Yeah, I mean, I was when I first heard you was coming on and what this was about, I was trying to get a timeline and I couldn't really link it across. So I was wondering if there was anywhere else in the world that he travelled that linked up with other murders that you know.
No, yeah, good question. He was in Paris. I think he was in Berlin. I have not been able to connect any murders that he committed there. Obviously, if there hadn't been the fascination with the quote-unquote Jack the Ripper killings, we wouldn't have known about any murders that he committed in London either. That's a difficult thing. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Once we establish that he could be a prime suspect, other places in the world may come forth with evidence about when he visited their cities as well. That would be interesting. I don't know if I have the manpower or the funds to do that, but maybe one day.
So what you're saying is, am I right in thinking that we're taking this concept that with Jack the Ripper being, like you say, so high profile at the time, that your great-great-grandfather's come to London and it's given him not exactly an excuse, but a get out to continue what he likes doing, and for everyone to blame somebody else, i.e., Jack the Ripper.
It was a vacation that he took from America, but also to see those scientists about hormones. I don't know why he would have done that going to London, other than I don't know why. You're talking about a man whose IQ and intellect was so high to try to predict or understand the way he thought. You're probably wrong.
Yeah,
it's like trying to understand
isn't
Einstein.
it? It's like,
yeah, I mean, are we thinking that he did the first 3 murders or the second?
I think he. You know what? That's good. I think he committed the first 2. When you read, Steve, are you familiar with the pathology reports for the Ripper killings?
I've read some, but I'm not completely up with it.
Right. When you read the first 2, you can almost see those doctors expressing an admiration for the talent that was demonstrated by the killer. Here's a man who in 4 or 5 minutes' time on the cobblestone streets of Whitechapel, in the fog, afraid to be caught by police, removed a woman's reproductive organs, I think on one a liver, the other a kidney, and without damaging any of the bordering organs in the body cavity. Most of us, Steve, couldn't even identify what that organ was, let alone removing it. There was an admiration there. Now, the last 2 killings, and this is what the detective from London told me, the last 2 were mutilations. The MO, the modus operandi, was completely different than the first 2, maybe the first 3 killings, and that's why they had long thought it was a copycat. So, that's the evidence from the forensics that existed at the time. Obviously, it would have been nice had we had DNA to compare, but we don't.
No.
I mean, obviously, legend says that the last one was complete rage, so they were assuming that she was actually his target in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the legend that's come up with it, isn't it? That the others were killed initially because he was looking for one.
Was that Mary Jane Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that may be why we've had so much trouble closing that case, because we've tried to connect all 5 to the same man, and if they weren't, that might have sent us off in the wrong direction. So that's my theory and contention, and I'd like to present the evidence to see if the professionals are ready to maybe take the evidence and move forward with it in their expertise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to do. I mean, the people that are into the Ripper case and things like that, a lot of them these days have their own agenda, because obviously it's their income.
Yes.
Exactly. There's a lot of money in Jack the Ripper. Hollywood, British BBC, the novelists now, that there's 2 or 3 new books every year about Jack the Ripper. So you're exactly right.
Even just tours around London and showing people where these things used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the amount of suspects that they've had for Jack the Ripper. Obviously, your great grandfather needs adding to it by the sounds of it.
Well, they always said initially that it was a doctor,
Yeah,
possibly a Jew that does circumcision, so he'd be good with a knife,
yeah,
and possibly a butcher were the three main subjects, weren't they?
yeah,
But the doctor was always the strongest one.
yeah.
And then
So
again, obviously, proving it is
it
completely another
needs.
matter.
I think really it needs to be a doctor, because even with a butcher, a doctor is more precision cut when it
It's
comes to a body.
I went to a surgical friend that I have in Seattle, and I showed him the evidence from the pathology report, Steve, and the facts. He said it was more than a doctor. It was a practicing surgeon that would have needed to have that talent in that 4 or 5 minute time. It wasn't something easy at all, and a regular, practicing community doctor would not have had that talent.
No, this is it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's the thing. It's not only what he did; it's the time it took him to do it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. So now you have a man here in H.H. Holmes who had practiced his entire life with doing this under pressure, in the circumstances that existed with the Ripper. And it's not, it's just circumstantial. It's not direct evidence, but it keeps pointing the finger at this type of man. And it also, Steve, when you talk about the 100 suspects that we have about who is Jack the Ripper, when we get down to it having to have been a practicing surgeon, you eliminate 98 of them right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
You do.
Eric has just come on the chat room there. He said his feeling is that that he felt invincible and needed to beat the British system and the British police force.
Yeah, he needed to do the murders. He knew he would not get caught over here. That's the way he feels. That maybe that's how your great grandfather felt when he came over.
It's just another system to beat.
Just another system to beat, sort of thing.
He enjoyed the game of chess, Steve, with the police forces. He did that all over the world, I think.
Now, can you tell us more about your great grandfather, H.H. Holmes? How do you refer him to yourself? Is it Mudgett or Holmes?
Well, I'm Mudgett, and his name was Herman Mudgett, as you've described. But the world knows him as H.H. Holmes. When you go to the websites, when you go to Google, H.H. Holmes comes up. So I try to use that name.
Right, because from what I was seeing from the documentary, as I said, he made out that Herman Mudgett had died, and Holmes was the benefactor for the money for his,
and claimed $20,000.
And claimed $20,000 for it, or somewhere in that region. And that's how come Herman Mudgett died, and then Holmes continued with his murder spree.
Now that may be another legend, because that's the first I've ever heard of that in all the years that I've researched this man.
Right.
So I'm not saying it couldn't be true,
No.
but I've never heard of that before.
Right. Well, can you tell me your side of it? What you've found out about him, where he's gone from Herman Mudgett to H.H. Holmes, and what he actually did?
Well, he just didn't like the name.
No.
It didn't have the ring of H.H. Holmes, who he was fascinated with the Sherlock Holmes character, and that's clearly where he took that name. Here's a man that had at least 31 aliases in his operation everyday life. That's 31 that we found. There's probably another 30 that we haven't located yet, and crimes that he committed across the country. So as far as those names are concerned, he liked the ones that just kind of, I guess, flowed off his tongue when and into his ear when people talk. So that's the one. That's the one though. Repeatedly, he used over and over again.
I mean, the one thing that's confusing to me at the present time, he was such a clever man. He had got away with it for years, and yet he got caught because he kept a bunch of letters. Why would he be daft enough to keep them letters that connect him to the murder of the children.
Well, Steve, that's a good point. Now, in the book, I describe what I think really happened, another part of the legend that we're going to disprove. I think he allowed himself to be arrested. I think he wrote those letters on purpose, and I think he escaped from prison and the execution because his notoriety was becoming so heavy, so high, that it was really impacting on his ability to live the life he wanted to live. Now, what better way for a criminal like this to fake his execution and burial and then continue on with another name and another part of the country? Now, what we intend to do is, when we have the funds to do so, he was buried in concrete, another strange part of the story, in Pennsylvania. We intend to dig that up, exhume that. The Smithsonian Institution has let me know that they will take possession of that when we do. Which is good, because I didn't want it to be a Geraldo Rivera story anyway. When we open that concrete up, they're going to take possession of the remains, and then they're going to have the best scientists in the country do a DNA analysis on those remains, and then compare it to my tissue, so that I'm very confident that one day we'll be able to state to the world, and that's 100% to zero. There's no mistake in that. No. We'll be able to prove it wasn't him that was hanged that day. It was his prison guard in his place. And I tried to write in the book about how that could have happened. I can't prove all of it, but I think I can. I think my contentions and how it was done are pretty close to actual fact.
I'd love to hear the results on that as well.
Yeah, I would as well. But if that actually happened, then surely he would have gone on killing.
I'm convinced he did. He had a blank check. He was given a free hand. I'll tell you, Steve. I'll give you another piece of the puzzle, which is just completely fascinating. Maybe the best part of the entire story. After he was allegedly executed, the New York Times wrote a series of stories about the H.H.Holmes curse, where 40 people that were involved in his arrest, the trial, and the alleged execution either died or suffered terrible misfortune. 40 people. And they actually called this the Holmes curse. And I write about one of those individuals in the book, the judge at his trial. Those are the type of things, circumstances that I continue to run in with this story, which don't make logical sense to me. And when something about H.H. Holmes doesn't make logical sense, I've come to realize that it's probably wrong. So we're going to work backwards on every one of them. We find out the conclusion, and then we work toward the beginning. And that's how I've pretty much determined many of those real facts that we now know.
Yeah, I mean, is the idea that it was Holmes that killed the judge and that?
Yeah, the judge, he allowed the judge to live, as I had described in the story. Right. He let the judge know that he and his family would die, but to Holmes, it was a fascinating event. He actually visited the judge in his home late at night, I think, and then changed roles with the judge. He became the judge's determiner of life and death, and allowed the judge to argue his case to Holmes, where Holmes, I don't know if you know the story, but Holmes fired his lawyers. Here's how smart the man was, and conducted his own defense. Some of the techniques that he used, Steve, are still taught in American law schools today, and he wasn't even a lawyer.
Ebic asked, was he ever asked to be involved in an autopsy of his own murder, him being a doctor? That you know of?
No, I wouldn't be surprised, but that I haven't seen that yet.
So how did you feel when you found out that he was a relative of yours? What was your feelings at the time?
Yeah, and that's what the book's about. The book, if someone wants to read about H.H. Holmes or Jack the Ripper, there are other historical nonfiction pieces they should go. My book is about me, Suzanne, learning at 40 years of age that the reason I was here on this earth today were the conscious decisions of this monster. I wouldn't be here today talking to you
No.
had it not been for him. While at first I brushed that off, as all men probably would, but then I went on this journey to find the truth. That journey became an obsession. It changed my life to where this man, who's the definition of evil, that's who and where I came from. It bothered me immensely for a number of years. Members of my family wouldn't talk to me when they knew I was writing a book about it. It was rough. It was rough. But I'll tell you what, when I was finished with the book, my life changed. And I ask my readers when they open the book, this isn't about my story, because when you start reading, when you open the book, it'll be about you stepping into my shoes and deciding what you would have done had you found out what I learned about my life and why I was different. I always knew I was different from other men. I wasn't a criminal. I wasn't evil. But I had instincts and impulses that weren't normal. I tended to just figure I was never going to learn where they came from. But then when my grandfather told the family the secret, that phrase, chip off the old block, I don't know if they have that in England or not.
Yes, I do.
That phrase became very apparent, and it changed my entire life. But when I finished my book and learned what, we all go through selections and choices in life. And my story probably may be the ultimate of that decision, because I come from, maybe Adolf Hitler is more terrible. I don't know. Yeah, you could have experts debate evil, but this evil man is where my genetics and DNA come from. And despite that evil source, my family were all good, God-fearing people who never once committed a crime. They were good, God-fearing people. Two of them came to England and fought in World War II. I think that's something to be proud of, to broadcast to the world, and it's something to show. It doesn't matter where we come from. It's the choices and selection you make about the life you want to live, and that selection and choice is better if you know the truth. And what I did going on my journey was to learn the truth about where I came from.
Yeah, as Marie says on here, that reminds her of the saying, genius borders insanity. Which is very true. Can I just ask, are you descendant from his first wife, or
yeah, well, it's another good question. He had probably 200 mistresses, Steve. He had 6 wives. I'm descended from his first wife, the legal wife, but obviously there are many other descendants of H.H.Holmes.
Yeah.
When you branch out in that many generations since then, there are probably, I don't even know how the numbers work, but there are probably hundreds of thousands of people that are related to this monster.
Well, the documentary that we saw, it revolved around 2 women, Pritzels or something they were called.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying about there was the children that they put in, that he turned a trunk into a gas chamber and put them in there naked, a portable gas chamber, and they were saying that these were his children or something, or
no, they were the children of the guy he murdered.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
he tried to murder the whole family.
Yeah, he tried to murder the whole family. So they're putting their stance on it from their point of view in this documentary that we saw. But from your book itself, if I can quote some of these comments that you've had from your readers, I could not put it down. A masterpiece, captivating, one of the most eerie nights ever. Could this possibly be true? Terrific roller coaster ride will knock your socks off. So it does sound as though it is a compelling book. As I say, how long has it actually been out, Jeff?
I think we're a year and a half, approaching 2 years now. It's It's self-published. I did it myself when I first took the book to the New York publishing houses. I had two offers, but they were conditioned. And Steve, I think you'll appreciate this one. One of the biggest publishing houses said they would print the book. They'd enjoy doing it, but I had to remove the chapter about my contentions that he could have been Jack the Ripper. They thought it was just lunacy.
Really?
Yeah, and I told him, no way. I've worked too hard on this. And that's not going to happen. So my partner and I decided to do it ourselves. And when you publish a book in the United States by yourself, you're in for a lot of work. You start out selling 1 or 2 books a month, if that, and you have to work hard. It's taken us almost 2 years now to be an overnight sensation. So
yeah.
But I wouldn't change anything about it now. And I told you, Suzanne, the other day, now we have Hollywood is buying the book to make a major motion picture of the story. So I'm quite excited.
Yeah, I'll be pleased to look at that. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, when it's due out, let us know where the trailer is. We'll stick it up
and advertise it. You know.
I mean, I don't get publishing houses doing that kind of thing. Because if they can see that you followed the trail, you haven't made this up. You followed the trail. Why would they say we'll take it out? It doesn't make sense to me.
You know, it was one man's decision, Steve. I don't know. I've never been able to understand, Steve, why there's such resistance. There's a resistance to opening the minds to consider the evidence that he might have been Jack the Ripper. And I like I said at the beginning, I haven't proven it. I'm establishing probable cause that he could be a suspect. Now, why there's such resistance to this man having ridden on a cruise liner for 8 days across an ocean and done the same thing in the same way that he did here for a lifetime, I don't know. But there really is. I go to conferences, Steve, and I am almost violently attacked with my theories, and I still don't understand why.
Maybe they just don't want
another
an American being linked to what's possibly the most famous murders in the world.
Do you think there's a pride in the UK about the Ripper being English?
I really don't know.
I would think so. Yeah.
Do you think so?
I think there's a pride about it nowadays.
Really?
Not so much back then, but now. It's such a big thing. There's so much legend built up around it.
But mind you, saying that, they're now saying he's a Polish guy. So
yeah,
you know, they're looking at the suspects here.
A lot of them are Polish.
You've got one guy, William Henry Berry, from East End of London. You've got Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. He was born in Glasgow. One was somebody Cutbush. Doesn't say where he was, but he got committed to Broadmoor. But most of them are English, Lancashire.
I mean, the thing is with that, the big story has always been with the Ripper.
Yeah.
Even though, to a point, it's been misproved, there has always been a royal link to it.
A royal link, yeah.
The royal doctor, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There's always been that kind of link to it, and that's the big legend with it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest legend, the fact that it was to do with royalty. You know what I mean?
You know what we've done now is we think the ship that he rode over on was known as the Etruria, and I have it. It's on my website. It was owned by Cunard, and there is a passenger list on for the ship that still is in existence. And I've asked Scotland Yard and the FBI if one day they'd like to take a look. And quite frankly, both those, and you know what, they're busy with recent crimes and things, and they both said they weren't interested in researching who Jack the Ripper was. So that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me. There's too much going on in the world today for that. You basically need a police historian for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't suppose anybody actually died on the ship.
No, and that would have been silly.
8 days.
That he would have been caught immediately had that happened. He was far too smart to have done that.
So how have you struggled with your demons writing this book, though, Jeff?
Well, when I was writing the book, there were times when I didn't know if I wanted to live anymore, and I never got close to actually trying to commit suicide. But
No.
there were times that I didn't know what my life was worth anymore. It wasn't an easy thing to do. When you read my book, Suzanne, you'll see that the horrors that he was involved in were worse than any movie you have seen. It was absolutely horrible. I'll give you an example if you'd like. There was one young lady who was strapped to a gurney in the basement, a rack, a medieval rack. Her wrists and ankles were connected, and then she was periodically stretched while she was impregnated so that he could determine if he could raise a taller race of human beings. I mean, that's the way he thought. That's what his victims were going through in this basement down below, in the middle of American Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's just been people have closed their eyes to this story, and that's why this is where I came from. And I've said it 5 times already on your show, and I'm sorry. But those things, when you go to bed at night, you think, no problem, I can handle it. You can't. You can't. It catches up on you. It creeps up on you. It builds like a tidal wave.
Well, you've got it in your subconscious now, haven't you?
Oh, there's no doubt. Everything I do in my life has some thought about H.H. Holmes.
You basically relived everything he's done.
Yes, and then when in my book I discuss, the mental condition that I developed while I was on this obsession, this journey, and I developed epilepsy, and I'd have these seizures to where he would talk to me during these seizures. I let my readers decide whether they want it to be, supernatural, paranormal, or, as my doctors have told me, a mental condition that many with epilepsy go through. I don't know. All I know is I can remember every second of those seizures and him talking to me. So it's an eerie, scary thing, which I don't want. I always close off my shows with this warning. The book's not for everyone, Steve. It's not. It's not for anyone under 18, and it's not for someone that doesn't want to have a scary moment about human beings, about what we're capable of doing. And it's not a story, it's not a novel, it's not a Hollywood creation to sell tickets. This is what we were. He was something that we have knowledge of, certainly ashamed of, but also ready that when the next one comes along, we're prepared to deal with it.
Can I just ask, being a paranormal show, and like you say, basically got into your mind whilst you was doing this, in some way, shape or form. Do you feel that maybe he did? Maybe the spirit came through to tell you everything as well, and give you more insight?
My best friend and partner believes that. I'm not sure whether it was his spirit, his soul, or whether it was my mental condition. Before I wrote the book, Suzanne, I was a very logical, factual man who would not have believed the paranormal in a second. Now, I describe in the book when I went into the basement of the post office, down to where the basement of the murder castle was, where all these innocents were horribly murdered. As I walked down those steps, Steve, I didn't believe in the paranormal. I didn't believe in the supernatural. I wasn't a spiritual man. An hour later, when I came back up those steps, I believed in all three, having experienced an energy which I still can't define. There weren't voices, there weren't little girls on tricycles and white dresses like you see in the movies, but there's clearly an energy that, and you know what? Our Earth doesn't just discard anything. There is something that remains after everything leaves. And when we die, I'm convinced now that there is an energy that remains. We just haven't been able to identify it or touch it to prove that it exists. But I'm convinced one day we will.
Yeah, that sounds. I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Marie said she's watched and read many Jack the Ripper stuff, and she said 8 or 10 times. There was an American link as well as a British doctor, and hearing this now, she does think it's possible that it was H.H. Holmes.
There's a new piece of evidence that came out a couple of weeks ago. I have a friend in Chicago, Dane Ladwig, who's writing an incredible book that's coming out, I think, in a month or two. It's completely historical, based on the evidence of his contention that Holmes is Jack the Ripper as well. And there is a piece of it, Steve, which is fascinating that I didn't know about until recently. One of his classmates at the University of Michigan was a member of the royal family. Not direct royal family, but I don't know how you all describe it, but 2 or 3 generations aside, but connected and related. And he was Holmes's classmate at the University of Michigan. And now there's evidence that Holmes visited him in London. So that piece of evidence will be coming out this summer, which I think may raise some ears in the UK about the possibility that Holmes could have been.
Did you ever think about Jack the Ripper before you started writing this book?
No.
Right. No, the reason why I asked is somebody's asked whether you had any opinion or whether you knew about the book that came out in the late 90s, which was a diary of Jack the Ripper. And I wonder whether you may have cross-referenced anything there.
No, I never read that book. And I think I've read comments about it or reviews, and it wasn't favorable. I didn't see that the reviews were favorable, that it seemed that the opinion was that it wasn't bona fide, but I'm not sure.
I mean, on the keep going back to the YouTube thing we watched, it's a pest source of information, rightfully or wrongfully. They were saying on there that there was some wax disc where he's actually telling how many people he's killed and what he's done with them.
Do you know anything of this?
Do you know anything about that?
No, I met the 2 ladies that you mentioned seeing on the YouTube video, the relatives of the murdered children, the descendants. I met those 2 ladies in Minnesota, and they were very friendly. They didn't hold anything against me because of who I was, and we discussed some of the evidence about those 3 children having been murdered by Holmes.
I'm going to send you the link via Facebook just so you can have a look at it for yourself and see whether you think it's...
They do actually mention that somebody bought some wax discs. I think they mean the circular ones, the old-fashioned ones. I think I did hear. I think I did hear something about discs.
Yeah.
And they were trying to be sold on eBay.
Oh, right.
For a rather large number, and evidently someone came up with the opinion. I don't know how they would have proved this, that they weren't legitimate, but I'm not sure.
Right, okay. Because, as I say, they say that he was trialed for the murder of Pitzel and confessed following his conviction to 30 murders in Chicago, Indianapolis and Toronto, though some he confessed to murdering were in fact still living, and 6 attempted murders.
Hey, Suzanne, hold on 1 second, okay? Just give me 5 seconds.
Yep, no problem. So, if you've just joined us, we're talking to Jeff Mudgett, who is the author of Bloodstains, which is a story of his journey finding out more about his great-great-grandfather, who was the first ever serial killer
in the US.
In the US, that was responsible for well over 200 murders, and the fact that he could be, Jack the Ripper, or at least responsible for a couple of the murders, at least, of the Ripper's victims. And through extensive research over the past 10 years, as well as evidence which you can find on his website at bloodstainsthebook.com, you can see a couple of snippets of evidence there, including a photograph which shows the possibility of a likeness between the 2. But we're talking about H.H. Holmes as a person, and his connection with Jeff, being his great-great-grandson, and how he felt about the way his great-great-grandfather was in his time, and how it really affected him. Because I do feel in a way that it has affected Jeff in some way, shape or form, and he admits himself that it has. Don't you agree, Steve?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it has to affect you somehow to find out that your great-great-grandfather was the most notorious
Yeah. You know,
murderer
and lucky
in
enough to
American
be alive yourself.
murderer in American history.
You know,
I mean, it's,
it is. You know, so
but Jeff also contends that he wasn't actually executed. That it was the guard, and he actually got out. Okay.
yeah. So he's just popped off. He's coming back in a minute, unless he's back with us now. Are you there, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
sorry, I was just filling in while you disappeared.
Sorry.
So, what do you think to that? You know, do you feel as though it was this Pitzel murder that really caused the problem? But like you say, it wasn't him that was convicted. That was executed. But do you think, is that true, that it was this Pitzel murder that really was the end of his wrongdoing?
Well, that's what history says, and that's what we intend to rewrite when we prove that it's not him in the concrete. So, my book is the only one that raises the possibility that he wasn't executed. There are many people that state that I'm just wrong, that I wrote that in the book to sell books. That's why I love to go on shows like yours to state that's something that it's not going to be like Jack the Ripper. Obviously, we could put as much evidence forward as we can, and there would still be people in the UK, the Ripperologists, who would not believe that H.H.Holmes. You could come forth with the knife with DNA on it, I think, and there would be people in the UK who still wouldn't believe that H.H.Holmes was Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Now, digging up the concrete where they say they executed and buried H.H.Holmes, with the Smithsonian helping me with DNA analysis that proves it's not a Mudgett in that concrete. That's something that I'm ready to do. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize.
Yeah.
If I'm right, I'm going to.
Is there a timeline on that, Jeff?
No, you know what? It's going to cost over $100,000. I need backing. I need a cable channel like History or National Geographic or the BBC to help. And when I get that backing, we're going to get permission from the government and go ahead.
Maybe the film's the way to go, because they could add it to the end of the film.
Yeah, they could add it to that, and maybe that will give people an insight to maybe help.
You know, I think that would be a documentary. Steve, you raised an interesting point. Hollywood, I thought when I first went to meet with them about the movie and the book, I thought they'd be interested in H.H. Holmes, the way he killed people, or being Jack the Ripper riding a ship, having a movie of him riding the Titanic, obviously not the Titanic, but something like that, to London, and then killing these prostitutes in Whitechapel. You know what? They weren't interested in that at all. They're interested in the story, Suzanne, of me finding out this monster was my great-great-grandfather and how it changed my life. And I was quite impressed with. That's what they want to make the movie about. Now, obviously, they're going to go back and forth in time. They used 3 movies to tell me what they were looking at making. Did either of you ever see The English Patient, the movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had Hugh Grant in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it, yeah.
Or Seven, the one with
I've seen Seven. Yeah,
I've seen Seven.
And The Usual Suspects. They used those 3 movies as the basis for what they wanted to build from the story, and they wanted to start out with me finding these books that my grandfather had left me, and then moving back and forth in time. But they wanted to stress how this knowledge and as it gathered momentum changed my life and threatened to make me something that H.H. Holmes would have been proud of, rather than a good, honest human being, and that's what they want to make the story of.
Yeah, he even apparently he said he thought he was possessed by the devil and claimed his innocence initially.
Yeah, he said the devil was in him.
Yeah, so
there were many at the turn of the century that thought H.H. Holmes was the devil.
Well, one question that we've got in the chat room for you is, what would you say to these skeptics?
This is just generally what would I say to the skeptics? Everyone has the right to be as skeptical about any issue as they want to be. All I ask, Suzanne, is, all right, I know there are people that have spent their entire lifetimes fascinated and studying Jack the Ripper. Just give me a few hours. Open your mind and consider a piece of evidence which makes complete logical sense. One that, listen, next year I've been asked to talk before a group of FBI agents in Boston about the evidence. This is no longer publishing houses thinking I'm crazy, Steve. This is people that make their career off forensic evidence, wishing to consider what I've got to say and come up with their own conclusions about the possibility. So if your listeners just open their minds, don't start off with that big no that comes in front of all of us when we have a subject that we're fascinated with. Open your mind, and then at the end, see what you think. If you still think it's a baloney, that's your right, and that's I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Well, I must admit, I've never known of a crazy man spend 10 years digging and delving into his past to find out something like this, and come to this conclusion with a book. To be honest with you, to me, it takes some doing, I must admit.
And what you really want people to be saying is, show me, so I can make up my own mind.
Yeah.
Steve, what I did here in the United States was I went to a conference, and I had skeptical questions, and I told them, listen, I'm expected to prove who Jack the Ripper was as H.H. Holmes, something which the entire world has failed to do for 125 years. Instead, I'll have you historians and you skeptics just show me one thing which is much easier. And I told them, listen, I know exactly where Holmes was in July of 1888. I know exactly where Holmes was, and I can prove it, where he was in the spring of 89. That's when he started building his murder castle. You all you have to do is show me one day, prove one day when he was in the United States in between those two dates, and I'll apologize to the world that he's not Jack the Ripper. And you know what, Steve? We have not had one piece of evidence come forward. Not one.
I mean, I heard recently from one of our listeners on here, in fact it was last week, they said that, I don't know where he got it from, but he said that Jack the Ripper was committed to a mental asylum, which is why it all stopped.
No, I've heard that theory. I've heard that theory before. It's certainly plausible. It's not something just to throw out. It certainly could have happened.
We're just trying to confirm here for Eric. Was H.H. Holmes in London when the Ripper murders started, and was he out of the country after the first two murders? Can you just clarify that bit for us?
Well, like I said, I think we can prove what ship he rode from New York to Southampton on. The ship arrived 7 days before the first murder, all right? Yeah. Now, once again, that doesn't prove he was Jack the Ripper. It proves a location. If we can prove that the handwriting is the same, once again, it doesn't prove he was a Ripper, but it proves he was in London. He had to have been there at the time. So that's where we are on proving the time. What we're doing now is trying to establish with the universities in London if that American doctor who was trying to sell them skeletons was H.H. Holmes or not. So we're running down circumstantial pieces of evidence. Now I can tell you this, having practiced law in California and trials, this evidence that we have may not be enough to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's enough to take it to a jury, and for a jury to consider if it's plausible that this man who made a lifetime of murder, that's what he did for a living, murder. If he was in London at the time, and the murder and the MOs of those first two are so similar to the ones he committed here in the United States, is it plausible that he could be the man? Well, that's for a jury to decide, and that's why I tell everyone. So many authors, Suzanne, want to say, I can prove who Jack the Ripper was. Yeah. No, you can't. No, you can't. That's not how justice works. You can't prove it, who Jack the Ripper. You take your evidence to a jury. They come back to you and say, that man's guilty. That's how we do it in our systems, yours and ours. And that's what authors need to start appreciating.
Do we know when he actually left London?
No, I don't know actually when he left. We don't know the ship that he returned on. We know that he was building his murder castle the spring of '89. I have a feeling, Steve, that he went to Paris after. I'm not sure. In the story, I raised the issue that he could have been concerned about the attention. I don't think he understood how much attention London, the turmoil that London was going to go into based on the murders of these prostitutes. I think he thought they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
And it obviously wasn't what he predicted. And I think he probably grew concerned about leaving London when he could. And like I say, I don't know what ship he returned.
Obviously, being a doctor and a teacher, could it be possible that he helped and showed someone else who was impressed by him?
Yes. I've thought that many times. I can't prove anything about my contention, but many times I've thought that may be why the murders, the last two murders, Steve, weren't the same as the first two. He could have been trying to teach or show being the mentor of another killer. I'm not sure.
Right. Okay. So what's next for Jeff Mudgett then? Obviously, you want it's going to go into a movie, and obviously you hope to get the money together to get the the slab up for the Smithsonian to sort out. What about you personally?
Look, I just sorry to interrupt you there, but the concrete piece of information, that's one way to stop people checking, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. But what's next for you personally?
You know what I'd like to do next?
What's that?
Steve needs some water.
Go on.
You know what I'd like next? I'd like you both to help me with something. I'd like to be able to come to London and talk to a group of ripperologists about the evidence. I'd like to talk to the skeptics in the UK, the police force there. I'd like to be able to discuss flat out, because my book's not about Jack the Ripper, like I told you earlier.
No.
And the part about proving him Jack the Ripper is once again, my family was, why do you want to prove our relative was Jack the Ripper? They couldn't believe that I wanted to do this. But I think there's, I'm intrigued with possibly the one who solves who Jack the Ripper was the relative of the killer. I mean, that intrigues me. So I would like for you both to help me obtain, have a conference or something that's done in London. I know every year there's talks about who Jack the Ripper was. I'd love to be able to come over and talk to an English audience about my theories and contentions. So if you can help me with that, maybe get the BBC to help, I'd really enjoy that.
Well, I'll put my feelers out. If I can find anything, I'll let you know. But
okay.
As I say, that's the best I can do for you, I'm afraid.
That's good. No, that's funny.
But
I'll tell you something. When you write your own book, when you start off, that's how things work. That's how I was contacted by Hollywood about turning the book into a movie. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a publicist. They called me saying, one of our readers was on vacation and read your book, and she ran back into the office saying, boss, we've got to buy this book. This is the movie we want to make. So I think, those little feelers like you talk about from normal people like we all are, I think that's how it's done.
Mm-hmm. So they've heard it here first. If anyone out there would like to have a seminar with Jeff Mudgett talking about his H.H.Holmes relative, and also the possibility that it could be Jack the Ripper. Tell them what you want to do, Jeff. It's going to go out on the airways, so somebody might hear it and come back to us.
You just did it perfectly. Thank you very much.
So there you go. Well, thanks very much anyway, Jeff, for taking your time to speak to us.
No, I've really enjoyed this. I haven't looked at the clock once. I've been enjoying the time spent.
Well, that's good.
And I'm glad you contacted me, and I'd like to come back on if we have any new evidence. Come back up to
I'd
keep
love
your
you to come back on, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'd also like to explain to your listeners that I'm fascinated with how a book is turned into a movie. and I'm trying to write on my blogs every day. I talked to the studio, and they said it was fine that I keep my readers and bloggers up to date on the project. And I'd like to come back on and explain to your listeners how it's going, because I tell you what, I'm like I said, I'm just fascinated.
Jeff, you'll be welcome anytime, my love.
Yeah,
no problem.
There's a couple of things that have just popped up here.
Okay.
Someone said they have a friend in the BBC, and they will have a word for you. Let's see what they can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ghost Rider said asked you to look on his William Betts FB page.
For what reason?
I don't know.
Okay.
One more time, Suzanne. One more time. I didn't understand.
Right, he said he has a friend who works at the BBC, so he'll see what he can do.
Okay.
Okay. And he said that I'll give him your page so we can connect with you there. So I think he just wants to be a friend. I think that's what it is. So I'm not sure there. So, but I'll give him a connection with you. Okay.
Very good.
On Facebook. So, but anyway, as I say, thank you very much. It's been brilliant. It's been very interesting, very eye-opening, and I must admit, I've never. I do watch CSI and all these criminologist programs, but I must admit, your great-great-grandfather takes the biscuit.
You know what? In America, we say takes the cake, but I think it means exactly the same thing.
Well, you've definitely got a skeleton in your closet.
There you go. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, thanks again, Jeff. Anyway, and as I say, yes, please keep us informed in your progress and any other evidence that you get.
And before we go, let me say one thing to your listeners. Obviously, to buy the book from me on my webpage and mail it to the UK is expensive, but we are on Amazon. You can buy the book on Amazon in the UK for $5.99. So we tried to keep the price down to where everyone can afford it, and I'd love for them to take a look. And if they'd like a copy of the real book, I would be happy if they announce to my manager that they are the friends of you and Steve. I'll send them a signed copy.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Jeff. That's great.
Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Steve. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Speak soon.
Yeah, see you soon, Jeff.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Well, that was interesting.
That was very interesting. You know what I mean? I must admit, you know, there is possibly a connection, but the fact that the way he's gone through the 10 years sorting this information out and getting the book sorted out and everything, you know, and the mentality in his mind, finding out all that stuff that his great-great-grandfather has done, you know, it's mad.
I mean, just on the Ripper thing alone, proving that he was actually here, a mass murderer that was actually in London at the time. Yes, I mean,
it's just
it gives. I mean, obviously, like you said, it doesn't prove he was a Ripper, but it does prove he was here.
Yeah.
And the murders, the first two at least, are very similar to what he was doing in America.
Oh, okay. The documentary we saw only gives you a little bit of insight of what kind of stuff he was doing, but like we said, that murder castle that they called it, that building he made, the basement of it was literally a gas chamber, and you know, and everything he done was all revolved about money. You know, there was originally the cadavers, and then grave robbing, and then selling the parts,
and then actually murdering because it was better.
Yeah, you know,
he actually had a gas chamber in his office.
Yes.
To make people, he put him in there, get him groggy, make him sign over money, and then just kill him.
This is it. You know, it's just the mind
Marie,
boggles.
don't forget to do what you said and tell his manager that you're friends of ours and he'll send you a signed copy over.
Yes. So if you do want to buy the book,
she's definitely buying his book.
if you want to buy the book, like he said, he will do a signed copy. So I'm not sure how much it will cost for P&P, but
you'll have to get hold of him through his website for that, wouldn't you?
yeah. Okay. So see what you can do. But yeah, very interesting conversation. And while I sit here and digest everything that's just been said, we're going to have a word from our sponsors.
And now, here's a word from our sponsor.
Finally, the #1 weight loss and fitness challenge in North America is coming to the UK. Don't miss your chance to be the first Brits to be a part of it. Be honest, right now you probably want to lose some weight, live a healthier, more active lifestyle, or get in better shape. We're here to challenge you to make your health a priority with the new Body by Vi 90-day challenge.
My favorite thing about the challenge was just losing the weight. Got my life back, that's it.
Now we've gone from being couch potatoes to being, fit athletes, working out, strength training every single day. It's changed our whole lifestyle.
Let's be real. You don't have to look far to see we have a problem. A growing problem. With today's work demands and faster-paced lifestyle driving us toward quick fixes, it's no secret how we got here. Finally, something that's simple, affordable, fun, tastes amazing, and most importantly, it works. The Body by Vi Challenge is the solution you've been searching for. The challenge is North America's #1 90-day platform for weight loss and fitness results. To date, over 500 million Vi shakes have been served to millions of people who have already lost millions of pounds, making the challenge the fastest growing weight loss and fitness movement in North America today. Powered by a line of innovative wellness products from Vi, the Body by Vi Challenge is coming to the UK. The perfect way to start a lasting health transformation. And by simply selecting a kit, you have access to all the resources you need to succeed. So, set your goal, select your kit, enter to win. Be the first in the UK to be on the challenge. There is no better time than now to start making your health a priority. So why not start losing weight, getting fit, saving money, and having fun? Guaranteed. Are you up for the new Body by Vi Challenge?
The one phone call that I made to try to join the challenge to lose weight has changed every aspect of our life.
Well, welcome back. Here we're back on the show. Well, big question for you guys. After hearing what Jeff had to say, how many of you actually think that H.H.Holmes could be, or at least connected to the Ripper murders in London? Come talk to us, guys.
Yeah, come and tell us your opinion. What do you think?
Tell us what you think.
So, just sound feasible, doesn't it?
It sounds very feasible that this guy was. Well, Jeff can prove he was in London at the time. He can prove that the ship docked 7 days before the first murder.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately he can't prove when he left.
No.
Because that would help. As far as the murders was concerned, because then he would outright say, well, he was here for the whole period of those murders, or for the first two, or whatever, So that's missing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. Be interesting to get that concrete slab up.
It would be, wouldn't it? You need some money for that, though. And
we just get Bones on the case.
Yeah, she works at Smithsonian.
One of their episodes was actually about a body encased in concrete.
And did you actually know that H.H. Holmes has actually been mentioned in a couple of things?
Yeah, go on.
Right, let me just tell you that.
Anything to do with the Ripper?
No. The ghost of H.H. Holmes appears in the episode No Exit, which was the second season of the US television series Supernatural.
Is that the guy with the bowler hat?
Yeah.
I remember now. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because he didn't he actually do a murder anyway?
Yes.
I
Remember
remember
that?
now. Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And the ghost of Herman Mudgett appears in the novel Ghost Story by Jim Butcher. The book is one of the Dresden Files series. So, you know.
So I mean, it's incredible what this guy got up to.
Oh, yeah. You know.
I mean, just watching the documentary that we saw there, he could actually go down a passageway, secret passageway behind all the rooms where people were actually sleeping, and there were hatches where you could drop bodies down into the rooms below, and just get the body to the dissection area without anybody even knowing.
He had a furnace where he burnt all the bones.
Yep, we could do that.
You know.
And no one contractor built this place because he kept using different contractors, so nobody knew the whole story of the building but him.
You know, but as a paranormal investigator, I don't think that's the sort of person I would like to investigate. I'll be honest with you.
Can you imagine the energy if you actually picked up H.H.Holmes?
Oh yeah, can you imagine it? You know, and the victims. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't just kill these people.
No.
In some cases, they were skinned.
Yeah.
Actually peeled the skin off these people. In some cases, while they were still alive.
Yeah.
They were just tied down, and he just pulled the skin back.
Well, like he said that there was one person that while she was pregnant, he put her on the rack to see whether he could make her taller. You know what I mean? It's just we sit here nowadays and think, how can people do this sort of thing? But when you hear about way back then, I know it's similar, but some of these are so horrific, you know.
But I mean,
you know what I mean?
Makes you wonder just how quick he would have got caught.
Yeah,
nowadays.
definitely. So
with all the advances in DNA and everything else.
Well, it's going to be a short show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the events on.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
On the 7th of June, Twilight Paranormal are going to Derby House, Ilkeston in Derbyshire. Also on the 7th of June, UK Shadow Seekers are going to the Galleries of Justice in Nottingham. On the 8th of June, the UK's first portal webcam live investigation from 9 PM. For more information, just click on the events page on paranormaleventsforyou.com. On the 15th of June, Haunted Places Paranormal are doing the Canterbury Tales in Canterbury. On the 15th of June, Fast Events UK are going to Pembury Woods, Pembury in Clanelly. And on the 15th of June, Wasp Paranormal are going ghost hunting at Langard Fort in Felixstowe. On the 22nd of June, UK Shadow Seekers are going somewhere in the middle of nowhere. On the 29th of June, Beyond the Grave Tours are going to Harwich Redoubt Fort, Harwich. Also on the 29th, Wasp Paranormal are doing a charity ghost hunt in aid of Help the Heroes at the Royal Gunpowder Mills, Walton Abbey.
So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events available now. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. Paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
There we go. That's the events for this month. Can you tell where exactly was Jeff from? Where does he reside? I know he mentioned Minnesota at one point.
Let me just, I'll let you know. About. Where do you come from, Jeff? Nope, that's not telling me. 2 seconds. I'll just check on my FB. He's from Las Vegas, Nevada. So he's from the Strip. Yeah. So
it's CSI involved.
This is it. Well, if you want more paranormal conversation, and you can stay up until about 2 o'clock this evening, or rather in the morning, because at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Time, and 6 p.m. Pacific Time, you can listen to Haunted Voices Radio over there with Todd Bates. So, and if you miss the show, you can always listen again, like you can with our shows on hauntedvoices.com.
One of the original paranormal talk shows.
Yes, definitely. So you've been listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show here on the KTPF Keeping the Paranormal Friendly website, and the KTPF Paranormal Community is part of Trifield Paranormal Network. So if you want to join the social network at trifieldparanormal.com, then join us over there.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you have an event, there's paranormalevents4you.com. That is a free advertising site. Just put your link in that links back to your website, and please don't put the price.
No. So until next time, as I said to you, remember, let me just remind you, there is no show next week because we have to go away for family commitments. But we will be back on the 19th of June talking about UFOs and the haunted Queen Mary. So we hope to see you then in the chat room, and have all your questions for our special guest. So until then, all that's left to say is good night and God bless, and keep the paranormal friendly. Good night,
everyone.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
And now, here's a word from our sponsor.
Be honest. Right now, you probably want to lose some weight, live a healthier, more active lifestyle, or get in better shape. We're here to challenge you. Challenge you to make your health a priority with the new Body by Vi 90-Day Challenge.
My favorite thing about the challenge was just losing the weight. Got my life back, that's it.
I come home now, go out and play in the yard with the kids, go to the gym, take the kids to the gym, and starting to live life finally.
Now we've gone from being couch potatoes to being, fit athletes, working out, strength training every single day. It's changed our whole lifestyle, the way that we look at our day.
Let's be real. You don't have to look far to see we have a problem, a growing problem. With today's work demands and faster-paced lifestyle driving us toward quick fixes, it's no secret how we got here. And if you're like most who have searched for a solution, you've only found more frustration. Instead of forcing you to adapt your lifestyle to fit a program, the Body by Vi Challenge adopted our program to fit your lifestyle. Finally, something that's simple, affordable, fun, tastes amazing, and most importantly, it works. The Body by Vi Challenge is the solution you've been searching for. The challenge is the world's #1 90-day platform for weight loss and fitness results. To date, over 500 million ViSalus shakes have been served to millions of people who have already lost millions of pounds, making the challenge the fastest growing weight loss and fitness movement in the world today. Powered by a line of innovative wellness products from ViSalus, the Body by Vi Challenge is the perfect way to start a lasting health transformation. First, you set a goal. Then, select a kit and enter to win. It's that easy. And in a minute, you'll learn how you can even get your kit for free. Let's talk about your goal. If you were to set a 90-day health goal right now, what would it be? Lose some weight? Shed some inches? Run a 5K? Build some muscle? Whatever it is, it all starts with you going public with your challenge goal. Then, you'll select one of 5 challenge kits designed to help you accomplish your goal. The centerpiece of each kit is the V-shaped shake. With a scientifically proven formula, thousands of healthy and delicious ways to mix it up, the V-shake is easy, affordable, and tastes amazing. And since it's a healthy meal replacement, the challenge can actually save you money on your eating out and grocery bills.
Challenge kits are so simple, convenient, easy for a person to take, and it gives them all the nutrients they need to keep their body functioning at the peak performance level.
You can have even more fun and nearly triple your chance of success when you do it with others. That's why ViSalus created the 3 for Free program. That helps you get your kit for free when you refer 3 others to take the challenge with you. Last year, over 400,000 free kits were awarded to people on the challenge. Do you want your kit for free?
The 3 for Free program just allows anybody, no matter what circumstances they are, to get their product for free and get healthy at the same time.
I absolutely love the idea that we can get our products for free if we just ask 3 people.
And new in 2013, it gets even better. Having helped millions find success, we're so confident that we've added a new 90-day money-back results guarantee. Save money. Get it for free. Money-back guarantee. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. But wait. Need more reasons? How about 47 million more? Last year alone, we gave away over $47 million worth of free product, prizes, and vacations for people on the challenge. And now with the new Body by Vi challenge, there are even more ways to win, with bigger weekly, monthly, and grand prizes. After studying millions of challenge transformations, we believe that the secret to your success lies in losing the first 10 pounds. That's why we've launched Project 10, where every week in 2013, we're awarding a total of $10,000 to 10 people who lose 10 pounds. Just document your challenge and submit for a chance to be one of 5 men and women selected every week to win $1,000 in cash. What would you do with an extra $1,000? Plus, since everyone who loses on the challenge really wins, lose 10 pounds and rock your free I Lost It t-shirt. How soon will you be saying, I lost it? Every month, those judged to have the best 90-day weight loss, active, and fitness results win and are named Body by Vi Challenge finalists. Feel like a celebrity with your professional photo shoot at Vi Gear Shopping Spree to show off your success and move on to the finals for a chance at being the next Body by Vi champion. 3 times a year, ViSalus celebrates the most inspiring 90-day weight loss, active, and fitness transformations by crowning our new Body by Vi champions.
Absolutely amazing. We want this for everybody, so commit, submit, you never know. You fill that thing out and you can win. This is amazing. Our lives are going to change.
Experience the Vi life when the red carpet is rolled out for all champions on the ultimate transformation vacation. And while it's great to be treated like an A-lister just for transforming your health, let's not forget the $5,000 Beverly Hills wardrobe shopping spree. You could be the next Body by Vi champion.
It's been just amazing, getting picked up by a private driver and the goodie bags and the schedule and the feeding and the dresses. It's just been amazing.
It's exciting to know that when you set that goal, as long as you challenge yourself, you're going to get there.
And by simply selecting a kit, you have access to all the resources you need to succeed. Take the challenge, and you'll realize it's not just about what you have to lose, but what you have to gain. So, set your goal, select your kit, enter to win. Talk to the person who showed you this video to learn more or to be invited to a challenge party near you. There is no better time than now to start making your health a priority. So why not start losing weight, getting fit, saving money, and having fun, guaranteed. Are you up for the new Body by Vi challenge?
The one phone call that I made to try to join the challenge to lose weight has changed every aspect of our life.